Today, I have something really special for you. I am going to hand to you a recipe that has been handed down to me from my father, handed down to him by his dad, handed down to him by his father, and about 17 generations prior to now. And this is the first time we've ever made it public. This is the Orchard family recipe for Sailor's Spiced Wine.
The ingredient list for this is going to be stupid simple. There's a lot of room for error. There's a lot of different things you can do to kind of play around with it per your tastes. You're gonna wanna go to your grocery store and grab a couple of these 96-ounce bottles of grape juice. Now you can play with some of the other flavors, that's totally fine, but you wanna avoid the ones that have a whole lot of acid. So like lemonade doesn't work very well. I've done it with raspberry and I've done it with a bunch of different ones. They all come out good, but to be honest with you, grape has been the best by far. You're gonna need to get yourself, this is just a little packet of Red Star Premier Classic wine or champagne yeast. You can get these things for like $1 online. I buy them like 20 packs at a time on Amazon. And this one little pack is going to make this entire deal's worth of wine. Next, you're gonna need to get yourself an 8-pound bag of sugar. Get yourself an extra 96-ounce bottle. You want it to be empty and you kind of want to sterilize this, like wash it out. You're gonna need a measuring cup. And then you need some kind of basin thing that you can put the wine in here. I'm going to show you why you need to do that, but I tell you what, it's a pro tip. You're really going to want this, especially if you mess up. It's going to save your life. You're also going to want to get yourself a funnel, and let me show you why. You're going to take your empty bottle, and then you're going to take every one of your grape juice things, and you want to pour 1/4 of that bottle into the empty one. Make sure that the empty bottle also has 1/4 of the cap space available in here. You're gonna need that airspace because when they start producing all of that carbon dioxide, you don't want these things to explode. Now that we've got a little bit of headspace in all of these bottles, we're going to need to put in some sugar. You have a lot of room for error on this. You can't put too much and you cannot put too little. What we're gonna do for this batch is 10 ounces of sugar for every one of these bottles. The reason you wanted to pour out a portion of that wine is because you not only want there to be breathing room for all of the carbon dioxide that the yeast is going to create, but the sugar fills that bottle back up, and the last thing you want is for this whole thing to explode in your lap. Now that we have all of our sugar in these bottles, the last thing we need to do is add the yeast. Your pack of Red Star or whatever brand yeast you're using, and you're gonna divide it up between these. Now, this little packet right here works for 5 gallons worth of wine, so it's totally gonna handle this, no problem. We're just gonna divide it up. I'm not even going to measure it out. We're just gonna pour it in piece by piece. So a little bit in that guy, and that guy, and there we go. And then I'm just gonna go back for a little bit more. So it's all done. Now we're going to recap these bottles. And finally, we need to shake them up to make sure that all of that sugar is dissolved as best as possible. Now these guys are ready to go, but there's one last thing that we need to do to make sure that they don't explode and that everything goes according to plan. You're going to want to put these in the storage place of your choice. Personally, I put them on top of the fridge. You want to keep them at about room temperature. You're going to want to put it into that drip tray. You're going to turn the lid on this 1/4 turn on every single one of them. What's going to happen is in about 12 hours, we're going to start seeing these things begin to bubble. If you have the lid on too tight, those bubbles are going to come up and it's going to make the whole thing overspill and pop the top off, and it makes a mess. But if you have a 1/4 turn on that lid, it lets the carbon dioxide out and everything's good to go. If the bottles begin to swell, if those indentations begin to pop out, then you need to loosen the lid just a little bit more and it'll be just fine. You can also try tightening the lid down just a little bit if you feel like there is too much give in that lid. Not a problem at all. You can always adjust it later on. You're gonna let this sit for 3 to 4 weeks. 4 weeks if you want more alcohol, and 3 weeks if you want a little bit less and you just kind of want to have some fun with it. I'm gonna go store these now. And when they're done, I'm gonna bring you back so that we can look at 2 more things that you can do to make this wine way more awesome.
Wine's ready, and it's time to break this guy apart and bottle it. Just before we get started bottling this wine, I want you to know that it can help if you were to leave this in the fridge for an extra couple of weeks after it is done fermenting. That is going to kill off the yeast, and it makes it just a little bit easier to try to filter out as much of those yeast bodies as possible. The other thing that you can do is pick up one of these filters. Now this is just a vacuum cleaner filter, but the pores in this mesh are small enough so that they will capture all of those little yeast bodies. As you can see, we got to leave that junk on the bottom because trust me, you're not going to want that in your bottle anyway. It's just not as good. You're going to take your bottle, put yourself a little funnel, and then we are going to pour this in very carefully. So there is a next step to this entire process that is really going to spice things up, but in order to do that, we're going to need two things. First, we're going to have to pour ourselves a glass of wine. All right, so that is how 17 generations of Orchard family members have gone about making the wine part of Sailor's Spiced Wine. But that is not quite the finished product. Right now, I'm going to show you how to spice things up a little bit. And what you're going to need, you're going to have your wine. You're going to need yourself a red glass that was given to you by your mother-in-law, who loves you very much. Thank you, Maxine. You're going to need some oranges. I've got blood oranges here just because they look cool. And you're going to need some cinnamon, and then you're going to need a pot, a really cool looking pot. And it doesn't hurt to kick all of this stuff up on the barbecue pit, and that's what we're going to do right now. All right, so first we're going to take our filtered wine that we made, and we're going to pour that into our pot. Now that we've got that going, we're going to take our orange, we're going to squeeze some orange into there. You can be delicate about it if you want. I'm not going to be. Take another one. And then we're going to take our cinnamon, plop it in there like that. And then we're taking this whole thing and we're going to put it on the pit. I like doing it on the pit because it gives it just a little hint of smoky flavor. Put it on there like that. Is you don't want that to boil over. You want to heat up the wine, but as soon as it starts boiling, that's where it's burning off all of the alcohol, and you definitely don't want to be doing that. It's been just a couple of minutes here, and I think we are ready to go. It has not started boiling yet, but the pot is pretty hot, and I think we're at the exact right temperature for our amazing drink that we're going to make here. We're going to take our pot, we're going to pour that into our cup. Then we're going to take our last little piece of blood orange and we're going to decorate this cup here. Like that. Pinkies up. Oh man. This is going to get you all kinds of friends over the holiday. You're really going to get in close with the family members as you serve them some of this. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have a very happy holiday season, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.